Hey boys and girls, the wait is over. Today the Livefire update went live, and with it came a handful of patch notes and a few goodies that weren't mentioned previously. So, in the background is one of my first matches in the new Livefire mode. This is one of two maps available only in this mode, and this one is called Meadows, the other is called Stacks. Livefire is basically 6v6, pilots only, 1 life, 1 minute rounds, and first team to 5 wins chaos. Oh, did I forget to mention there is also a single flag in the center of the map. So basically this update brought this new game mode to the table. It also updated the matchmaking menu so that you can pick the game modes you want to play and it will randomize it for you. Also in the new matchmaking menu will be a featured playlist that will offer double XP. You know, for the 1% of players that are not already max gen. Cough cough. If only Respawn would raise the level cap. Anyway, that's not all that came out this update. A new execution that in order to unlock you have to get 10 executions with the Inner Pieces execution. There are also new faction intros and commentary for those of us who are utterly tired of hearing the same intro every match. A new Coliseum map called Columns will now be in rotation in the Coliseum game mode. There are also new patches and banners that correlate to the Livefire game mode that were added under the radar. And that pesky stoic dark pilot camo, aka black, that required a Gen 11 is now unlocked for all of us who are Gen 10.50. I also noticed that the banners that required a Gen 11 through Gen 15 have been removed from the banner section. And now on to the patch notes. New content. I've already gone over these, so feel free to pause and read if you wish. I'll also have a link in the description below. New features. The mixtape matchmaking that I've gone over previously. Gamepad. There's custom button mapping for pilots and titans. They added a toggle for crouching behavior. They added a toggle for ADS behavior. They now, thank the heavens, have a button press for rodeoing titans. Off is still by default, so I will be quickly turning that on. For those of you that are not aware of what this really does, have you ever jumped out of a window or trying to get into a window and you automatically mantle onto titans over and over? Have you ever jumped across something, landed on a titan, and died because of it? Well, now it requires a button press if you turn this feature on instead of auto-mantling onto a titan. There's now an advanced HUD, display party member coloring on HUD. Some colorblind players prefer this. They've updated the community fact section for upcoming patches, DLC drops, trailers, etc. They added new sounds for the Stim pilot execution, the new one they added called Late Hit. They added the film grain slider this time. They added new ambient environmental sound effects to bring the Livefire maps to life. Meadow is a fusion of virtual reality and natural forest ambience, as well as Stacks is a fusion of virtual and industrial sounds. Game improvements. Holopilot Decoy can now deploy on zip lines. It is also more resilient when stepping over things and colliding with walls at certain angles. It's now visible in threat scope and sonar grenade pings. No longer runs on top of dome shields. What? No longer crashes into the ceiling and dies when running through doorways. Should be more resilient when started during wall runs. The Kraber can no longer be shot as a semi-automatic if the player presses the reload button at the same time as the fire button. Titans that are invulnerable while performing executions will have their life bars colored gold and flashing to communicate their invulnerability. Added some out-of-bounds triggers and props to block off areas for crash site and complex. FOV is now saved per user. When switching weapons while editing a loadout, the game will now preserve your mod choices if possible. Ronin now shows his sword in the loadout menus. Credit purchasable items now show a credit symbol instead of a lock symbol. Friends' names will now show up green in chat room and in game. Prime Titans can now use nose art. Network admins can send messages to the network in game rather than only through Titanfall.com. Added extra text to make clear that war paints are not supported on Prime Titans. Capped max range of Reapers weapons in attrition. Toned down the excessively loud dropship sounds in attrition. Adjusted volume fall off of cluster rocket explosions so you don't hear them from across the map anymore. Added some lobby text notifications to inform players that they are waiting on the party leader before restarting matchmaking. Nuclear eject damage no longer fills your Titan meter. Reduce the area affected by the nuclear ejection screen shake. Increasing crit damage pilots deal to Reapers in multiplayer. Titan balancing. Tone. Reduced salvo core's damage. Reduce the damage fall off from salvo core rockets. Increase the cooldown of sonar pulse. Reduce the projectile size of the 40mm. Tone's burst loader improvements. Slight presentation tweaks. Updated audio cues. Leaving ADS now clears the charges. North Star. Removed the damage fall off from flight core rockets. This should make her more consistent in dealing high damage. Increased dash regen rate. Ronin. Also increased dash regen rate. Scorch. ADSing with his primary weapon will now display projectile's path. Ion. Fixed a bug with Vortex Shield where reflected bullets would deal a high amount of splash damage. Weapon balancing. Devotion. Added very far damage settings, reducing its damage at distance. Added more kick to the first shot to make using single shots more difficult. Increased view kick during sustained fire to create a slightly larger spread. Archer. Fixed the homing speed so it will once again track targets as expected. Hemlock. Overall damage adjusted so you can't one-shot burst to the body and get a kill. Finally! Reduce damage from range for non-amped and amped versions. MGL. Reduced the projectile speed. Increased the fuse time. Lastly, here's a list of bug fixes and platform-specific fixes. I'll leave them on screen for you to pause and read, or click the link below to read them over on Respawn's website. While these are scrolling, let me share a couple thoughts regarding a few changes I've already experienced. Yes, the Hemlock takes multiple shots/bursts to kill. Suckers. Live fire, at least on meadows, actually feels very slow and campy. A lot of head glitching. If you try and run to the enemy's side, you have basically all 6 opponents camping and waiting. At least that's my first impression so far. We'll have to wait and see how the flow changes over time. One last thing before I skip out on you to go play some more live fire myself. I stream daily over on Twitch between 8 p.m. and 2 a.m. Pacific Standard Time at twitch.tv/SlyGumbi. So feel free to stop by and say hi, or even jump into a few games if I have open spots. Until next time, stay tuned for more Titanfall news and info videos.